Hello, I'm Dave O'Neil with Century 21 Northeast, and welcome to Price This House.
And I'm Kimberly O'Neil, also at Century 21 Northeast, and welcome to our 2019 year-end edition.
We have a lot of exciting information that happened over the last year versus the year before, and also getting ready for the new spring market, which is about here any day, this nice warm weather that we're experiencing. Okay, now we're going to turn to just the facts, portion of the show where we compare 2019 versus 2018. For North Reading, we had 168 sales, and in 2018 we had 179 sales. That's a decrease of 6%. The average list price was $624 versus $600,000 a year ago, so that's an increase of 4%. The average sale price was $625 versus $600,000. That's a 4% increase. The price per square foot is $284 versus $278. That's a 2% increase. And the days to the offer, number of days a house is on the market up to the point that they receive an offer, is 28 in 2019 versus 27 in 2018, virtually non-changed. Okay, for condos in North Reading, in 2019 we had 86 versus a year ago we had 74. That's an increase of 16%. Average list price of $355 versus $300 a year ago. That's 18% increase. The average sales price for condos was $355 versus $306. Again, 16% increase. The price per square foot was $311 versus $287 a year ago. That's an 8% increase. So days on market for condos was 43 in 2019 versus 25 in 2018. 18 days longer to sell in 2019 versus 18. It's only a couple of weeks. It's not really that much difference. The multifamilies, again, none in North Reading for this year, and 2018 there were 2. And land sales, there were 4 this year versus 2 last year. The average list price of land was $329, and the average sale price of land in 2019 was $310. The average list price of $508 in 2018, but that's for a bigger parcel, so that throws the percentages off a little bit. And the average sale price of that was $434. So days on market for North Reading, 52, and 72 for 2018.
I think the number of the days on market, increased in 2019 for condos because our condo sales jumped drastically from 300 to 355 for sales price and list price. So that's an 18% increase. And so I think people tested the market and tried to get a little bit more money. And I think that's why they ended up sitting on the market a little bit longer, but ultimately got the value.
Well, don't forget we have some new construction in there too. And sometimes new construction, they put on a whole building at a time.
Right.
Versus one individual unit.
Yeah, so it might sit a little bit longer. Thanks, Dave. For Reading in 2019 versus 2018, single-family homes, they sold 267 this year versus 222 a year ago. That's a 20% increase, which is great. Average list price was $633 in 19 versus $647 a year ago. That actually went down a little bit, for the list price. But the sales price actually went up 1% to $664 versus $655 a year ago. The price per square foot is up to $324 this year versus $313 a year ago. That's a 4% increase. And the days to offer is 26 versus 21. So a little bit more time on market, but we're talking just a couple of days here. So really not a significant change. For condos in Reading, we had a decrease in activity this year. We only sold 76 versus 95 a year ago. That's a 20% decrease. However, the list price went up significantly to $465 versus $428 a year ago. That's a 9% increase. And the sale price went up to $461 versus $428 a year ago, which is an 8% increase. The price per square foot went up to $336 from $327, and the days on market went up to 30 from 23. I think same thing. It was a significant increase in days on market, but that's because they were getting a significant more amount for the condos. For multifamilies, there are quite a few more multifamilies in Reading than there are in North Reading. We sold 8 this year versus 11 a year ago. The average list price jumped up to $691 from $632 a year ago. That's a 9% increase. And the average sale price went up to $660 from $615. That's a 7% increase. Price per square foot went to $247 versus $227 in 2018. It's a 9% increase. And the days on market actually went down. There were fewer of them, but they sold more quickly. In land, we only sold one parcel of land in Reading for the whole year. There's just not much land in Reading left. That was on for $289 and sold for $260. It was on the market for 200 days, and there weren't any parcels of land that sold the year before.
Now we're going to move over to Linfield. 2019, we saw 155 single-family homes sold versus 2018, there was 151. The average list price was $733 with an average sale price of $727 versus a year ago it was $736 for a list price and $728 for a sale price. Virtually no change in either list or sale prices. Dollars per square foot, $284 this year versus $281 last year. And days on market, 31 this year versus 37 last year. So looking at all of that, it's pretty straight, no change all the way through. Condos in Linfield have 24 that sold in 19 versus 21 in 18. Average list price was $553 versus a year ago was $551. Average sale price was $548 versus $542. Again, very level market. Price per square foot in Linfield was $285 versus $298. And days on market for condos is 37 versus 88 a year ago. Again, when you're dealing with condos and new construction, a lot of them come on at once and then they only sell them, so often. So those days on market do get skewed when you're talking new construction. And again, much like Reading, multifamily none and land none. So we're really just kind of looking for land in all these different towns. So if you know anybody, this would really be an ideal time for them to sell.
Thanks, Dave. Finishing off with Andover, for single families, the most of any of the towns that we cover, 417 homes this year versus 347 a year ago. That's up 20%, which is unbelievable. Having said that, the price went down, the list price went down a little bit, down to $734 versus $763 a year ago. That's a 4% decrease. And the average sale price went down $716 versus $754 a year ago. The price per square foot went up, though, to $267 versus $257 a year ago. And the days to offers was flat at 34. So things stopped taking about a month to sell in Andover. In the condos, we had 145 sell this year versus 151 last year. It's a 4% decrease. Average list price went up, $425 versus $395 a year ago. That's an 8% increase. And average sale price went up to $423 versus $396 a year ago. That's a 7% increase. Price per square foot, $292 versus $282. That's a 4% increase. And days on market went to 54 versus 46 a year ago, which is a 17% increase. There are a few multifamilies in Andover. We sold 7 this year versus 4 a year ago. The average list price went up 6% to $507 versus $478. That's a 6% increase. And the average sales price went up to $492 versus $488 a year ago, which is a 1% increase. Price per square foot, $210 versus $175. And days on market went down to 15 versus 24 a year ago because people were scooping them up when they became available. Again, in Andover, there's just not much land for sale. There was none last year, none the year before. So I think you can see from the 4 towns that we cover, Dave, that lots of 6, 7, 8, 9s in the percentage of increase. So it's been a very, very healthy market this year and continues to be through this winter season that has been. 2 things have really happened. One, unfortunately, the Patriots were out of the playoffs pretty early on, so we had people that were coming to open houses because they suddenly had their Sunday afternoons available, and we've had a really mild winter. So between those 2 things, the spring market really has come towards the end of this winter, and we're really getting ready for a big boom.
And there's still not much inventory out there. So people that are putting their houses on a little earlier this year are seeing that pent-up demand. I was at a couple open houses this weekend, 25, 30 people, which you typically don't get. You make it 8, 10, 15, but you don't get in the 20s or 30s. So if you're thinking of doing something, I would say do it sooner rather than later if you want to capture that pent-up demand. And there is a premium that goes along with solving that problem too.
Thank you. All right, so now we're going to do a spotlight. We're going to take a look at one home from each of the communities we cover. And we thought since this was our year-end special that we would let you know how people on the other side live. And we decided to focus on the most expensive home in each of the 4 communities and highlight that for you. So Dave's going to start with the North Reading spotlight.
Sure. North Reading, 20 Little Meadow Way, which is a beautiful, very upscale neighborhood down off of Marblehead Street. It was listed for 1.25 and sold for 1,187,000. 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and has about 4,200 square feet of living area, and it sits on 1.47 acres. It's absolutely exquisite new construction. It has guest suites, master suites, elegant doorways, grand foyer, bridal staircase, hardwood throughout, and there's just a ton of things that are all upscale products in this home. So as you can tell, 4,200 square feet of house isn't all that big for today's market, and that is carrying 1.167 in Little Meadow Way, which, as I say, is a premium neighborhood in town.
And in Reading, we had 340 Summer Ave. There were actually a couple brand new construction projects on Summer Ave this past year. This one was 340 Summer, and it was listed for $1.749 million. It sold for $1.625 million. 13-room colonial with 5 bedrooms, 3 full and 1 half bath, including a master, 4 fireplaces. This was an exquisite, brand new, custom designed and built home, an expansive yard, 4,500 square feet, 35,000 square feet of land, 3 garage spaces. It just, the finishes and the built-ins, the quality were just unbelievable. It also had a huge lower level that was a walkout, so that was an ideal for expansion as well beyond the 4,500 square feet. So right in the center of Reading's west side, a beautiful, beautiful home that sold for $1.625.
Beautiful home, yes, definitely. And in Linfield, we're going to talk about 6 Ramsdale Way, which is a 9,300 square foot home with 10 rooms, 5 bedrooms, 4.5 baths, 4 fireplaces. Was listed at 1.899 and ended up selling for 1.875. Sits on 1.4 acres of land in a desirable multi-million-dollar neighborhood. Has marble foyer with soaring ceilings, the classic staircases, just elegant everywhere that you look. 4 bedrooms, including the second master suite with a gas fireplace, walk-in closets, 3 Jack and Jill bathrooms, and hardwood floors throughout. The lower level, which was finished, has an expansive wet bar, just absolutely magnificent. Opens up to the game room and the movie theater. Imagine having your own movie theater in your home.
That'd be nice. Additional
bonus room, gym, wine room, and full bathroom are all downstairs. They have private outdoor spaces with expansive patio, 4-car garage, and literally when you look at this house, this has all the bells and whistles. But I suppose for 1.875 it should.
It should. It was a beautiful, beautiful home. And our top money getter for the year for our 4 towns we cover was 26 Phillips Street in Andover, in town, abutting the Phillips Andover property. Unbelievable, again, exquisite Georgian-style home. It was listed for $2.9 million and sold for $2.75 million. It was a 12-room, 5-bedroom, 4.5 bath, including a master bath. Again, 4 fireplaces, just beautifully maintained. Only the second time this home's ever actually been offered on the market. It's been kept in families for generations. Some of the things are just things that you just don't see anymore. Slate roof, copper gutters, a carriage-style garage, 4 fireplaces, crown moldings, oversized windows, a chef's kitchen, formal living room and greenhouse, wood-paneled library. An amazing home for entertaining, both inside and out. Lots and lots of land, almost 5 acres of land, and the home itself is over 6,000 square feet, 6,200 square feet. Truly, truly a beauty of a home. And again, it should be for $2.75 million.
It has that old world charm that
Absolutely.
In town Andover location emphasizes the quality of that house.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Talk of the Town. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Many of you may have already heard, but the North Reading Rotary Club recently changed to be the Metro North Rotary Club, and we're going to deal with addiction prevention. Rotary International has now allowed clubs to choose a cause rather than just everything that comes down the road. So North Reading Rotary talked, for a long time about what we wanted to do, what was most needed in the community, and we decided addiction prevention was something that we wanted to do. So a speaker that's going to come in a couple minutes, she's going to be running the sessions for us. She's a nurse at Mclean Hospital. She has her master's in nurse management and patient education. Perfect designation for having to go out into the community and talk to people about addiction prevention. So sit tight, we're going to be right back, and we'll introduce you to Barbara. Okay, we're back now. Very pleased to introduce Barbara MacIntyre, who's a nurse that specializes in addiction prevention. So do you want to give us a little bit of your history and a little bit of the upcoming Rotary program that's happening?
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I've been a nurse actually 47 years now, and I've been in addiction 23. And everything that I put together for this little program has nothing to do with my work. I sincerely feel if it helped one person or one family, you know, that's really what I want to do. This opiate and drug addiction is just such a horrible thing. It's very difficult to talk about. So I really just want to put it out there, put the facts. I think people are busy. All the information I have that I'll show, and I have some pictures, pretty graphic, you know, from the internet. And I think people are so busy they probably don't have a chance to see really how bad, you know, this can be. It's interesting. What's almost topping the opiate addiction is gambling, which you know, something I never thought of. But I hope to give some facts. I have a couple of colleagues coming with me, younger, who have lived. I'm 100 years old, who have lived the experience, and they were very happy to talk about what happened to them, what happened to their families, and that whole experience. And I can tell you that before I did this work, I never realized how awful, you know, this is, and these people really suffer more than anything. If you have cancer, diabetes, whatever, you know, people say, you know, I'm sorry, what can I do? But any kind of abuse, substance abuse, people are really reticent and kind of standoffish, and that's when people need help the most. I think until society realizes that it's a medical condition, you know, we see it as like hypertension, diabetes, we're really not going to move forward. But I can tell you that people are very, very sick when they come in. We worry much more about people who drink a lot because they'll have a seizure. The opiate people aren't going to have a seizure. They're just don't want to go through withdrawal. They'd rather die because it's a horrible, horrible thing. And the issue with the drugs is when you keep taking them and taking them, it's a chemistry thing in your head. You eventually have to take them to get out of bed, you know, to feel better. Interestingly enough, we have a trend coming in of people with opiate prescription addictions. People just like us that have the hip or their back or their knees done, and they get hooked on pain medicine. And it's horrible to see a lady 60 years old coming in using heroin because she couldn't get her, you know, prescription. Pain is pain, and you know, when you need medicine, you do. Good thing is we have it's called medication-assisted treatments now, and a lot of younger people don't want that. They don't want to trade one addiction to another. But you know, we welcome them into my job and tell them, you know, at least you're alive, so take this. But you know, football players have terrible pain. Any kind of joint pain is awful, and it can hit any family, any you know, any person. And the policemen too see horrible things. Some of them, you know, fall into that. EMTs, firemen, vets is still carrying a lot of issues naturally with them. So I hope to present just a little bit of facts, and if anybody has any questions or whatever, you know, I hope we can answer that. I have a slideshow. And I just want it to be easy. It's a horrible subject, so I just want to kind of, you know, be detached and just present the facts. And if anybody needs help at all, just make that call. That's a hard thing, you know. And even if you think you have a problem, just call. It doesn't get any better. Yeah, that's all. It just gets worse.
And you're going to be presenting 3 times, 3 different topics? Or are you doing the same presentation for 3 different?
Whatever you know.
Yeah, at this plan, it was going to be 3 different ones. We're going to do this. We have
a physician coming.
For questions and answers, and then we have those 2 co-workers of yours
that
are going to come and give some. So at this point, we really wanted to hear what people's questions were, what people's concerns were, and we were going to pass out index cards, and like at the first session,
Yeah.
and at the second session, that'll give us a roadmap as to where we need to
Yeah,
go.
so really taking some community involvement and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
feedback, which
Yep.
is fantastic.
The-
And so Dave was explaining before, so it's not just North Reading Rotary anymore. So what can you tell us a little bit about Dave? Maybe Dave, this is more of a question for you, but who is in the new group of people that this is serving?
Well, because it doesn't, or it does cross town lines, it doesn't stay within one town, the Rotary Club decided to call itself the Metro North. And in our minds, what we're basically saying is the intersection of 93 and 128 on the south and 93 and 495 on the north. And we're right halfway through, you know? So it's all the towns around us, you know? And we're not trying to recreate the wheel. What we're trying to do is to bring in people like Barbara that know more than we know, that can make a presentation, and that's what Rotary can do. We can't get up and talk about the subject, but we can do the behind the scenes, getting the
And find the experts like
getting
Barbara.
the programs together and who do you know type of thing. I find anytime you ask people for help, they are really happy to do it. So we've been very fortunate. Anybody we've ever reached out to for help, they're like, sure. Or maybe, you know, I'm not the person to do that, but why don't you give so-and-so a call? And that's actually how we came up with the doctor that's going to be on the second session, is somebody made a recommendation that we get in touch with him. I emailed them. It was very nice, real quickly. I wrote back and said I'd be happy to. So that's how we find it, is people generally want to help one another.
Right. Now, Barbara, you talked about the opioid addiction, and obviously that, seems to grab a lot of headlines, but you also mentioned gambling as, it's not just about,
It isn't.
drug
It
use. So
isn't,
what other
yeah.
kinds of addictions are you going to be talking about?
Well, the National Drug Abuse Council has got a plethora of information, and I actually have some slides to show how all this, all these drugs change your brain. So it's not in your head or whatever, but it's an illness. And until, again, we see it as a medical problem. A lot of things I'm learning every day in my job, and I think what keeps me is people do get better. You think there's no hope and no help, and I wish more people did. And it's hard. But in any event, we've realized that people who have gastric surgery, the gastric sleeve, the bypass, often, if they were prone to any kind of addiction with substances before, for some reason they go back and they get admitted because they can't stop drinking, or they can't stop using. It's a cross transfer of addictions. I know they're told before the surgery, but it doesn't happen to everyone, but it happens enough to
Just
to
because
talk
they're in so
about
much
it.
pain that they require the drugs early on?
I think it's in your brain. I don't know why. If you have a food addiction and it seems like you get rid of that. Sometimes
Something
this other
else.
drive, to feel better or whatever, makes your dopamine go up, and you just start drinking or using pills. So not always, but
It's something people need to be aware of. Yeah.
They do. I mean, and I know they probably tell you.
And they probably
before,
tell the
but-
patient, but the family maybe, or the coworkers,
Right.
or the neighbors that see a change in someone
Right.
don't necessarily know that that's to be expected.
Right,
So then
right.
all of a sudden, the red flag maybe doesn't go up quite as fast.
Right.
And that's how I see that.
Right.
If
Well,
some,
you can think you can have a few drinks, but after a while you have, one more too many, and sometimes if you think you have a problem, you probably do. But there's a lot of hope and help for that. But there's all sorts of addictions, computer addictions. We know sex addiction, video addiction. Kids are really
Oh, the
addicted.
kids, the screen time addiction.
The phone addiction.
you don't think of all those other things,
No,
but as
no.
you're talking, I'm thinking of Tiger Woods.
Absolutely.
Remember what he went through? I mean, he really crashed in front of the whole world
Yeah.
watching. But that was basically the same type of thing, right?
Right.
A sex addiction. So it's really important work, and it's really important to get the word out. And that's what we're kind of hoping to do with this segment, is for somebody to maybe watch it and say, oh, you know what, I think I'm going to go and listen to that seminar. I think I'm going to find out a little bit more about this.
Well, it's a very hard thing to deal with, and I think sometimes you can't talk within your family, but there's other people around to listen and just make that phone call, because families are hard, and it's just hard to, sometimes you need another person. So just to call and, ask questions, or just to tell someone what's going on is a big thing, because things, mostly with drug addiction, get worse, and alcohol too. But there's a lot of hope and a lot of help, and again, if we can help, anybody, that's why I really want to, move on and do this. And we'll see.
That's
So,
great.
thank you again.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, thank you for coming. And, for those that are saying, well, how does this tie into, a price this house segment? It's, it's just to show one more thing that the community does. We
Right.
live in such a wonderful community. It is a small, kind of close, tight-knit community. And this is something that, for years we've been dealing with as, an epidemic. And it's just nice to see that some, town leadership and Rotarian leadership in the community realize that and are going to the lengths that they are to
Right.
help educate other people. And
Right.
like you say, if you can save one person,
yeah.
it's just it's the kind of town that
Right,
that we
knowledge
have.
is power. The more you know. But sometimes people call, you don't know. Oh, who do you call? What do you do? It's just parents are really stuck.
Well, the community impact team in North Reading has done a great job in putting that together, and every year they come up with a booklet of resource numbers.
That's wonderful,
So that's
yeah.
something we're hoping to be able to pass out at
Great.
the seminars. So again, even if it wasn't for the seminars, people to know that even North Reading has a community impact team.
Exactly.
What does that make
Right.
up of? Who's on that? A lot of people were worried about confidentiality.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that they can see, well, I can call this group or I can call this group or whatever, and know where it's going to stop.
Right, right.
And I think that once you get past the guilt and the fear and
Yeah.
the embarrassment and all that,
It's very embarrassing.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse. It's really hard, But I can tell you, movie stars, rock stars, football players, doctors, nurses, lawyers, whatever. Funeral directors, everybody's got some kind of, stress. And who knows, is it an environmental thing, a genetic thing? We've, had twins. One twin has got a horrible addiction. The other one went to law school. You don't know. But you can't give up. And I have to say the Mass Clearinghouse, the drug abuse people in Boston have been very generous, and I have to move out. I've gotten a lot of things in the mail I'm going to bring, and some things for seniors, disaster preparedness and that kind of thing. So I hope there'll be
So
a little
time well
something
spent.
for everybody.
Yeah.
Time
Well,
well
we hope
spent.
to see you. It's March 18th.
Yep.
yeah, 6
at the
o'clock at
library.
the community
6
room
to 8.
downstairs in the library.
Yep.
So hopefully some of our viewers can make it.
Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so much,
everyone-
Barbara, for being
You're
here.
welcome.
Yeah.
Everyone's welcome.
Thank
Yep.
you. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Dave or me, and we can put you in touch with Barbara directly as well. So thank you again, Barbara.
you're welcome.
And
You're
we'll be
welcome.
right back.
Okay, we're back. It's so appreciative for Barbara to come in and talk. She's doing a great job with the Rotary Club.
What an amazing resource for us as a community
Mm.
to have at our disposal, and for other communities as well. She's really a wealth of knowledge, which
Yeah,
is
really.
nice.
She's been doing it a long time, and you can see that she really cares about the patients.
Passionate about, and thank you to you for being the president of the Rotary and bringing it to us as well.
I've always been an involved person, so it's just one more hat, I guess. I
Yeah.
have to wear. So we're going to move on now, and Kim's going to talk about Beantown and beyond.
So in keeping with our theme of the end of the year, and let's looking at how the other half live with all of our most expensive properties, I decided to bring up what the most expensive property in Boston was for this year. And boy, were there some beauties. And interestingly enough, the single-family home, the most expensive single-family home, was only about $11 million. So I decided to focus on the most expensive condo that sold in Boston, and that was 35 Commonwealth Ave. It was the penthouse unit. It was on the market for $15,550,000, and it sold at a discounted price of $14 million. It was 5,320 square feet. It did have 8 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, including a master bath, 3 fireplaces. I mean, prime location in the Back Bay on the corner of Commonwealth, but on the corner of Berkeley. And it was just unbelievable. It was the penthouse was not just the top floor. It actually encompassed the top 3 levels of the building, it's a very rare opportunity to own 5,000 square feet in Boston proper. It had a direct elevator access. It combined 3 plus bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms, and just for grand living, I mean, at its finest. And so, if you or anyone you know is interested in purchasing a property comparable to that, please let Dave or I know immediately.
I thought you were going to talk about Tom Tom Brady's house.
Oh,
You probably saw it in the news, right? Reduced?
That's been getting reduced and reduced. So there's actually a good segue into listening to your realtor. It's definitely important to price the property right. Dave's always taught me that there's two reasons a home sells: it's marketing and it's pricing. Well, we market the heck out of property, so you really have to focus on pricing, because if you priced it right to start, it would probably be gone.
It's also called positioning. Now, in a typical neighborhood, you position it right where it should sell. But when you get to that type of a property, you're never really sure where it's going to sell. So I think that's what happens. They look at the whole greater Boston area, not just the town of Brookline.
Right.
So 39 million down to 33 million. It's a real deal. Anybody interested in taking a look at it, give us a call.
Let us know. And then the last thing, we just wanted to leave you with something to think about. We do have an off-market property here in North Reading. It's 13 Englewood Lane, right off of Park Street, over near Fairbanks, that neighborhood over there. It's Batch School District. It's 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. Beautiful home with almost an acre of land. It also has a fully finished walkout lower level with the kitchenette, which is perfect for a larger extended family. Beautiful, beautiful property. We have that listing in-house only for a little bit of time. So if you are interested in a private showing, or anyone you know is interested in a private showing, please contact Dave or me to see that. That's going to be priced at $850, which is, I think, a great deal for in a neighborhood with that much square footage and number of bedrooms and the elegance, beautiful bridal stairway and whatnot. So that's our little tease for you that's going to be coming on the market soon. Again, that's 13 Englewood.
That's a nice neighborhood. People in that neighborhood always have really liked it. Also, next to that is that new Fairbanks. It's probably about 10, 15 years old now. But those homes are probably close to $1 million now. So you're in an area of equally priced or greater priced homes, which is important because you are looking at it as an investment as well as a place to live.
So if you have question on any of those properties that we've talked about today, or anything that you'd like to talk about real estate, we'd love to take live questions on the show. We'd love to answer any of your questions or help you figure out what your property is worth. Please feel free to email those questions to price.thishouse@century21.com, or you can obviously reach out to Dave or me on social media. We both post in the North Reading Community Connection quite a bit, and we can be found through Facebook, LinkedIn, and other social media ways to find us. So thank you very much for coming. Another thanks to Barbara for being here.
Yeah.
And
that's a wrap. Really appreciative of Barbara coming up and spending some time talking about it. The first session will be March 18th, 6 o'clock in the community room at the library, which you park out back and there's direct access right from there. And then the next one will be April 29th, and the last one will be May 27th. All 6 to 8 right at the library. We're expecting a good crowd, so come by 6 because we're going to start right at 6 o'clock, and we'll have some good resources for you as well.
thank you very much to all of our customers, all of our referral sources. Dave and I couldn't do it without you, so we really appreciate a very strong 2019, like so many strong years before. But we really appreciate you. We appreciate your viewership. And if you have any questions, we really hope to hear from you, and we really hope to work with some of you in 2020. Let's have a great year.
Thanks again.